Today, on Guess What I Found Out, somewhere in Ice Age Eurasia, a wolf made a decision that would outlast every empire humans have ever built. It did not run from the firelight, it did not attack. It sat down at the edge of the warmth, and it waited. Nobody knows why. But the descendants of that one wolf now number around 900 million, sleep in our beds, and stare at us with eyes that have watched humans longer than any other animal on Earth. We are going to call them the firelight freeloaders, because that is exactly how this whole thing started. And because by the end of this you will realize the dog at your feet is not what you think it is. It is not a tame wolf. It is the living ghost of an animal that no longer exists. For decades, scientists thought they had the dog origin story figured out. Dogs came from wolves, everyone agreed. The only argument was where. East Asia, the Middle East, or Europe, each camp waving its own fossils. The problem? They were all reading the wrong book. They were studying modern dog DNA and working backwards, which is like trying to reconstruct a first draft by reading the 17th edition. Thousands of years of migration, mixing and Victorian meddling had scribbled all over the original text. So, a team led by Anders Bergstrom at the Francis Crick Institute did something better. They went and read the bones of the dead. And here is the first jaw-dropper, the one almost everyone online gets wrong, so listen closely. The animal that became the dog is extinct. Modern grey wolves, the ones in Yellowstone and Siberia, are not our dog's ancestors. They are cousins. Dogs and modern wolves both branch off from an older, deeper wolf lineage that has completely vanished from the planet. We did not tame the wolves we know. We tamed something older that no longer exists in the wild. Read that twice. If a vanished ancestor hiding inside your pet sounds like your kind of story, do me a favor and hit follow right now, because this channel does exactly this every single week. So, where did it happen? By comparing dog DNA to ancient wolf genomes from across Eurasia, the closest match pointed east, towards Siberia, somewhere in the brutal frozen steppe between roughly 30,000 and 15,000 years ago. And here is the part that genuinely gets me. This did not happen in some cozy, warm river valley with food to spare. It happened during the last Ice Age, in the harshest conditions our ancestors ever faced, where every single calorie was a matter of life and death. Two species that had spent hundreds of thousands of years competing for the exact same prey suddenly did the unthinkable. They teamed up. In the worst possible moment to share food, they shared it anyway. But here is where it gets complicated, and where I have to correct the version you have probably heard. A lot of videos will tell you science-proved dogs were domesticated exactly once, end of story. That is not what the newest research says. When the same team sequenced 72 ancient wolf genomes spanning 100,000 years and published it in 2022, the title of the paper was, and I am not paraphrasing, The Dual Ancestry of Dogs. They found dogs draw their genes from at least two separate ancient wolf sources, one eastern population that fed into all dogs, and a second more western one that shows up in Near Eastern and African dogs. So whether it happened once or more than once is honestly still an open and very live debate. The mystery is not solved, it just got more interesting. What is rock solid is what came next, and this is where the story turns dark. An earlier study sequenced 27 ancient dog genomes and found that by 11,000 years ago, there were already at least 5 distinct dog lineages spread across the world. The Levant dogs, the Karelian dogs of northeast Europe, the Lake Baikal dogs of Siberia, the ancient American dogs, and the New Guinea singing dogs. 5 separate populations, each with its own deep history. And today, 4 of those 5 are essentially gone. Quick question for you while we're here. Do you know what ancient lineage your dog actually descends from, or is it a total mystery mutt? Drop it in the comments and tell me the weirdest thing about your dog while you are at it, because I read these. The ancient American dogs are the most haunting case. They crossed into the Americas with the first humans over 10,000 years ago and thrived for millennia. Then Europeans arrived, and within a few centuries those dogs were almost completely erased. A 2018 study found that less than 4% of modern American dog ancestry traces back to them. And the single closest living relative of that entire vanished lineage? A contagious cancer. I'm serious. A transmissible tumour called CTVT, descended from one individual dog that lived thousands of years ago, is now the last genetic echo of America's first dogs. A whole population reduced to a cancer that hitchhikes between dogs worldwide. If the idea of an entire population quietly disappearing hits you, that is the exact same slow vanishing happening right now to the people of Puffin Alcatraz. Go watch that episode after this one. It will wreck you. So the other lineages were not, wiped out by climate or disease. Instead, they were replaced by other dogs. Every wave of human migration, well, it carried its own dogs that, in turn, overwrote the ones already there. Steppe dogs swamped Europe's Neolithic dogs. Roman dogs? They reshaped the empire. And colonial dogs, they flooded every continent. The dog on your street, believe it or not, is the survivor of 30,000 years of genetic conquest. And there is, one more strange thing buried in the DNA. After dogs split from that ancient wolf population, the gene flow went almost entirely one way. Dog genes leaked into wolves, but wolf genes barely leaked back into dogs. For tens of thousands of years, the boundary stayed sealed. One unsettling theory is that humans enforced it, killing any wolf that wandered near the dogs and any dog that drifted toward the wild. The dog may have been protected from its own ancestors at the point of a spear. Now, here is the twist that should, honestly, make you look at a pug differently. For almost all of that 30,000 years, there were no breeds. There were working dogs shaped by their jobs and their climates. The breeds you know, the Labrador, the German Shepherd, the Bulldog, the Chihuahua, were nearly all invented in the last 200 years. The Victorians did it. The first dog shows were in 1859. The Kennel Club was founded in 1873. And within a single generation, dogs were being bred for looks instead of function. The genetic cost was brutal. A pug's face is so flat it can barely breathe. Most bulldogs cannot give birth without surgery. That is not deep time. That is a Victorian show-ring fashion choice frozen into a living animal. So, what does this mean for the firelight freeloader snoring next to you? It means it is one of the most successful organisms in the history of life, outnumbering the wolves it descends from by more than 3,000 to 1, since fewer than 250,000 wolves remain on Earth. It means it carries genes shaped by Ice Age campfires, by migrations across continents, by people whose languages have not been spoken in millennia. And it means the dog is not a tame wolf at all. It is the genetic memory of an extinct animal, walking beside us exactly as it has since before the end of the last ice age. So tell me in the comments, what surprised you most? The extinct ancestor, the cancer that outlived a whole lineage, or that breeds are barely older than the light bulb? And if you made it this far, smash that like button and subscribe, because next time I am taking you somewhere even stranger. See you there, Curious George.